Well, we've got some numbers now on exactly how the Suicide Squad performed on HBO Max, and it's not very good. So, as you know, I covered the box office performance of the Suicide Squad yesterday. Domestically, it made 26.5 million, which is really, really bad. It was expected to make 35 million. In my opinion, even 35 million is bad. So, didn't do very good. And there's some pretty good reasons for why, if you listen to what people have to say. The biggest one is that a lot of people think that there's a lot of the fan base that's very upset with the direction that DC Comics is going with their extended universe, they're calling it now, for movies. They have no plan. They don't know what they want to do. They've got like every Superman version in comics coming out except Clark Kent. They're going down this weird direction. You know, the good side of this, I was just thinking the other day, is maybe J.J. Abrams will be quickly dismissed because I don't even think his, for some strange reason, hype can say this. I don't know why this guy has a fan base. Anybody that's watched what the man did to Star Wars and Star Trek should be very, very concerned with the future of DC comic book movies. The R rating has been blamed for this, though I think that's unfortunate because I like movies like this that take a risk, and I liked this movie a lot. It sucks to make this, but you know the audience seems rather split on it. I didn't realize how split it was because I looked through the comments on the video. I do read them. I can't get to everybody; it's too many, but I do read them over. And at least my audience is quite split on this movie. A lot of people loved it. Quite a few people did not like it. I'm really shocked because the movie had no woke message. It was fun, over the top action. It was everything that I would want from a comic book movie, but I guess to each their own. Either way, the movie cost a lot of money to make, and it didn't make it back. So the question is, well, how did it perform on HBO Max? That's going to be the big one, and it does not look like it performed very well at all. This is from Deadline, exclusive. The Suicide Squad HBO Max weekend viewership off 26% from Mortal Kombat in Samba TV US households. Now, Samba TV is the best way that we can kind of assess how well movies do on streaming. They do this through a variety of means, through smart TVs and apps and deals with cable companies. They're able to find out exactly how well a movie does on a streaming service. So we can actually get some data instead of just believing what these companies say. And I don't believe anything they say. Though it would appear, at least according to what Samba has to say, that HBO was not lying about the Suicide Squad's performance. Mortal Kombat, by the way, not a great movie, but a fun movie. An over-the-top, gory, violent movie, which is what I would want from a Mortal Kombat movie, to be honest, though I still think the 90s movie was better. The difference between Mortal Kombat and Suicide Squad, though, is Mortal Kombat was a hell of a lot cheaper to make. I think it cost like $100 million or something to make, whereas Suicide Squad cost about 200, I think almost 200 million. I'm a little off on these numbers, but the point is Mortal Kombat was cheap. Suicide Squad was a bloated budget, high budget, bloated movie. Not so much in presentation, but in how much they spent to make it. So this is one of the biggest things that hurt this movie is the cost. Mortal Kombat is a much more successful movie because it didn't cost that much to make, and it actually made some money back in theaters. I think it performed better than the Suicide Squad in theaters too. Another reason I hear, by the way, that this movie did bad is because people didn't understand that it was a sequel. I mean, this is a point I kind of agree with. What is this movie? Is it a reboot? Is it a sequel? What is it? Because it doesn't even seem like it took place with the old one, even though it shared characters. So I'm not sure. I do think all of this kind of worked against it. But the fact that Mortal Kombat outperformed it is kind of bad. This should have been a big hit. As James Gunn You can get crossover with the Marvel audience. And, it was free on HBO Max, but it does not seem like it attracted new numbers like they wanted it to. Now, the point of this being available on HBO Max is to bring in new people. Okay, the Suicide Squad's going to be on HBO Max. Let's sign up. And in reality, I'm pretty damn sure that people that are executives at HBO Max were hoping that the Suicide Squad would have brought in a ton of new subscribers. And it doesn't look like that was the case. So let's go over this little bit of data here. Exclusive third-party streaming analytics company Samba TV has weighed in on the weekend viewership of Warner Brothers' The Suicide Squad on HBO Max, saying that 2.8 million U.S. households turned in for the film's Friday-Sunday frame. That number, along with movies on HBO Max, marks the highest weekend ever for a DC property, well ahead of Justice League, the Snyder Cut, which had 1.8 million, and Wonder Woman, which had 2.2 million. But it's not the highest the streaming service has seen for a day-and-date theatrical movie, as monitored by Samba. That crown still belongs to the R-rated new line title Mortal Kombat, which drew 3.8 million U.S. households. Suicide Squad's HBO Max weekend views in Samba TV Home are 26% behind that figure. And then they go on to talk about stuff like the box office and Jungle Cruise and how they can compare to that, stuff like that. They do note that on the upside for the Suicide Squad over the weekend, HBO Max for HBO Max on Saturday posted the largest number of total Samba HH viewers, first time or repeat, with 1.2 million U.S. households watching the title that day for at least 5 minutes. That's so crazy that is a winning statistic, that they watched it for at least 5 minutes. It's a 2.5-hour movie. Oh, they watched 5 minutes of it. Oh, that's wonderful. Is it, though? Is it? So, it did somewhat okay, but to me, this movie should have been much bigger than Mortal Kombat. This movie had all of the stuff that on paper should have made it a huge success. Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, Harley Quinn, a bunch of over-the-top, it's a comic book movie. It should have had a crossover with Marvel fans, and none of that came true. In all regards, this movie is somewhat of a disaster. And listen, like I said in the comments, I don't take any pleasure in this. I really liked this movie. I wanted it to be good, and I wanted it to be successful for a bunch of reasons. Namely, one, I'm tired of the Marvel formula. I appreciate that DC Comics took a risk with this movie. They made an R-rated movie. It didn't follow formula. It was just a fun comic book movie, which is what I really wanted. Shang-Chi, the Eternals, all this shit coming out from Marvels. It's all manufactured, formula-driven shit. And I think I'm not the only one that's getting tired of it. And I think that Shang-Chi and the Eternals are not going to have big outings. It's going to be skewed somewhat with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is going to be a huge hit. And that's mainly because of the fact that they're going to have Toby and Andrew in it. But for the most part, I think you really are now witnessing the steady and steep decline of comic book movies. And I think that might be maybe a good thing, because I want them to shake things up, and maybe they'll do that. I want more of the Suicide Squad and less Black Widow. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you still subscribe, hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.